Welcome to the Rams pre-draft show presented by Zillow. Camryn Irwin alongside my very good friends. We've got DeMarco Farr in the house and Maurice Jones-Drew. And this is your first look at the Zillow Draft HQ at LAFD Air Ops. And
we got helicopters, Maurice.
We got some helicopters.
We got helicopters.
Listen,
and a fire truck. Let's go.
As someone that has motion sickness, to see all this flying and moving, I'm just happy that I'm here, right here on the ground. I saw you get in there, though.
I thought we were doing the show from the air. I guess I was wrong. Jury lied. Yeah, I thought we were going to do this flying over
that would be a great show. You could drop me off at SoFi after.
But just don't press the big red button
Don't
there.
press any buttons at all. Going through that whole systems check, wow. You think quarterbacks have it rough? I mean, that's a pilot right there. Good stuff, yeah.
Well, we prepare for the draft. We all want to just take a quick second to also remind you and thank, of course, our LAFD and the work that they have put in the last several months and just shine a light on our heroes. Do you guys have any thoughts just over the last few months, what these guys have been up to?
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that have been firefighters or in that space, and to see what they sacrifice day in, day out, especially here in California with the wildfires or whenever it may be, if it's just for a regular call to go help someone, right? To put your life on the line every day is something special. And to obviously be here in this atmosphere to share this space with them means a lot.
It does. I mean, we all played team sports, so you know what the locker room's like. It carries over. You know, they like to joke around. Yeah. But when you talk about fires and going out to save people and rescue, they take their job deadly serious. They get quiet. There's no jokes. Just meeting these guys today, you can tell how much they care about people and helping. So as much as we appreciate the athletes, you have to appreciate the people that go into fires and into danger to protect us. So nothing but respect. Glad to be here.
They answer the call, and some calls are going to be made in the next 3 days. The draft's starting this evening. So this is your draft preview show. We're going to dig into what the Rams might do with their pick, number 26 in the first round. But before we dig into that, I want to take a little look back because there's been so much conversation about how hot the Rams have been in the past two drafts, that they're on this hot streak. But I would venture to say that streak actually dates back further, and I think to the Sean and Les era. So I'm curious, since we'll call it 2017 when those two guys teamed up, what are some of your most outstanding draft moments? And I'll start maybe with you, DeMarco. What's been maybe one of the most impactful moments you've seen come out of the draft?
Oh, my God. Impactful moments from this group? I mean, there's been several. I mean, you can talk about Cooper, talk about Puka. I mean, you can talk about last year with Jared and Braden Fisk. I mean, having the guts to take them both. And, you know, seeing one guy that's special and seeing the guy right next to him at the same school, wrecking shop in the ACC championship saying, I like both guys. One would be great. If I got both, what would my team look like? And you actually pull it off. So that was so special. So this is funny with me and Maurice, with the GM coach. They have to be simpatico like Les and Sean are. You have to see football in the same vein. You have to value team building in the same way. Be of the same, close to the same age, same genre. Because if there's tension here, eventually there'll be dissension there and nobody wins. So being together on it, even if we disagree, we're going to agree to disagree and be on the same page. I think they've been great. So that helps them identify talent regardless of round. That says that guy would be a great Ram here and we can get a great coach to get him to his potential. So a shared vision helps you have or win the draft, so to speak.
So you mentioned many of the impactful players, but I know from the other side, Maurice, maybe there's some underrated moves that we've seen, and especially late days in the draft.
I mean, you think about Puka Nacua in the 5th round, Kyron Williams in the 5th round, Quentin Lake in the 6th round, Fuller in the 6th round. Like a lot of these guys that have made huge impacts defensively, offensively, or been late round picks. Even when we were in the F them pick stage of our career, right? Guys were still able to go out there and make huge impacts. And so to me, Darius Williams is another one that comes to mind that was a late round pick. I think this, though. There's two situations where I saw Les Snead convince Sean McVey to draft Byron Young, right? In that whole, how he was like, look, this guy coming off the edge, you can feel his power, you can feel his speed, you can feel his presence, and then to draft Puka Nacua, right? He was convincing Sean, like, this guy is going to be a guy for you. This is how you go. And then to see the way that worked and then how Sean was able to implement both those guys into their defensive system, into their offensive system, then how they blossomed and flourished into who they were. I mean, Puka Nacua, who would have thought he set every rookie record for receiving, right? Like, that's unbelievable.
Maybe Les did. Yeah.
Right. I don't even think Les did. I think Les probably was like, yeah, this guy's going to be a good receiver for us. But that was amazing to see that, right? And so how you can pick, and then how your coach can really transform his offense or his defense into fitting those guys' talents is what makes it special.
Our ride's here, by the way.
I was just about to say, in case you're wondering if this was a stage or a real-life runway, it's a real-life runway. This is going to be fantastic throughout the show. You guys mentioned Braden Fisk as well as Jared Verse, and we know what they were capable of. We've seen the impact. We lived it out in 2024. I'm curious as to what is the kind of upping of ante in year 2 for both of these guys. One, the Defensive Rookie of the Year, and the other, a finalist for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Okay, so from a defensive line perspective and D-tackle, what have you. So the one thing that comes with having a lot of success is a lot of attention. You know this. Yeah. So now everyone knows what you can do. Yeah. Your team, your fan base, and everybody you just played and are about to play. They're going to study you and figure out what you do best and what you don't do well. So you're going to have to constantly improve on that end. So this is where they have to take it to the next level. This offseason, you have to improve on what you've already done great, and you have to improve on what you've been lacking. I thought they both got better later because Braden Fisk turned into a monster towards the end of the year.
That Seattle game, he really that was
big
it.
Time.
That was it.
And Jared Verse was a monster that was missing tackles early.
Yes.
And then learned how to be a pro and started getting guys on the ground. Sure enough, he's a Pro Bowler Rookie of the Year. So what they have to do is just know that everybody is going to have them circled on Wednesday through Sunday trying to take you away.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is consistency, right? Like, we saw you get better. Now, can you start where you left off in this second and sophomore year? But then also, like DeMarco said, how are teams are going to block you different. They're going to do certain things, which is going to be tough because that's going to open up for Byron Young and Kobe Turner. So you're lucky enough to have a plethora of guys that can kind of rotate in and roll in and make plays. But even with that being said, you were so dominant as Jared Verse was on the edge. You were so dominant on the edge. Where can you take? Is it now having a little bit more pass rush moves, right? Not always bull, right? Not always speed to power. Is it going to be double swipe? Or what move are you going to work on this offseason to perfect so that you can have it into your repertoire and add to your toolbox? For Fisk is going to be being able to hold up in the running game a little bit more, right? Like, we see that you're a phenomenal pass rusher, but you do great on single blocks, but then how do you handle doubles, right? And so those are going to be the little things as you get going in the NFL. I can just say from my perspective, I was a great first and second down back in years 1 through 3. Fourth year, they were like, you got to be a receiver. We got to be able to throw you the ball out of the backfield. And so that took my game to the next level. So then I was able to play 4 or 5 more years of catching passes just because the coaches challenged me to be a receiver. So I'm interested to see what they're going to work on to make it better. But there's always things you have to get better at for sure.
The Rams made big moves last draft to be able to get Braden Fisk. They actually traded up 13 spots. And not to take anything away from Jared Verse, obviously the Defensive Rookie of the Year, 77 pressures, 4th among edge rushers last season. But do you think he has this season? Do you think he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year had the Rams not traded up 13 spots for him to play alongside his fellow Seminole?
If they weren't together, and would Fisk have won Rookie of the Year? He might have.
Verse, yes.
Verse.
No, he would have won.
That's interesting.
I think he would have won, but
that's interesting. If they were split up in other places, I still think same thing happens. They're just in different uniforms.
I would tell you this. I got drafted with Mercedes Lewis in 2006. We both went to Jacksonville. And what made that situation so much easier for me was I have my boy, right? And so we roomed together the first year. If there was anything that I was missing on the we would go over on the playbook. Like, I just had a comfortability with him, right? So I wasn't in the huddle by myself. I think that helped.
Oh my God,
it helps a ton.
Yeah.
But I also think they're such really good players that no matter what, they might not have done what they did here together, but they would have done something similar.
See, against him and guys like Saquon Barkley, I don't have time to look at you and say, what are you doing? I have to know.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have to feel you. So if we can have nonverbal communication, that's only going to make us better. So that's going to grow. And one more thing about Verse, he's going to be public enemy number 1 for every O-lineman this season for what he was doing to them last year and this. So I love it. Get yourself in hot water so you have to get yourself out of it. That's what makes you better. Absolutely.
Kids got to be on fire when you're training.
Thank you very much.
For sure.
Well, we've been focusing so much on the defensive side. We're going to switch it up a little bit, too, and focus more on the offensive side because that's where the Rams have really solidified through free agency this offseason. There's been conversation, whether it was from McVey or Stafford, that they're looking to, we'll call it, find some versatility in their offense.
There it is again. The V word.
So how do you define the Rams version of versatility, considering some of the moves they made in free agency?
Balance.
Okay.
I think balance is how you kind of show your versatility, meaning try to be more 50-50. Right?
Okay, yeah.
50-50 run to pass. Part of that pass is play action. Right, you have a guy who can win one-on-ones. Now with Devontae Adams, you brought back Coleman Shelton, who was a great communicator. I've always, when I first got to college, my running back coach Eric Bieniemy, who was, he's one of the best. He used to say, communication is the key to success in any relationship, in any walk of life. Right, if we can't communicate and we can't understand each other, we have a problem.
We got issues.
The last 2 plays of the season was miscommunication. Right? You let Carter come right up the middle twice, it affects the game. So that communication piece on the offensive line is going to be huge. One is going to add competition to Bo Limmer, but also it's going to force guys to communicate more because now you have a piece that's done and it can do it. And then you add a guy on the outside that continually beats one-on-one coverage, right? So are you going to try to stop the run game with Camryn Williams? Are you going to try to put all these pieces to stop Puka Nacua? Or are you going to stop Devontae Adams? And so Matthew Stafford now has different options that he can go at. And I think everyone can play every position. That's where the versatility comes in. It's not just you have to be X. Devontae can be in the slot. Puka can be in the slot. Guys can move around. And so I think, again, another year with all these players, I think it'll be great.
That means our helicopter's coming.
I'm not getting on it. That's what
I'm impressed. Yeah. It seems like every time he's talking, it happens.
Did you see it? He got nervous.
He just somehow he's firing through.
And if this was the radio, I would have asked you, what were you going to say about the enemy? Never mind. Yeah, Stop that. But I wrote this down about versatility because I keep hearing this about Sean McVey and versatility. So what is not in his repertoire? What haven't we seen for Sean McVey if he wanted to get more versatile? The first thing that popped into my head was a non-blocking tight end.
I was just about to say 2 tight end sets.
A non-blocking tight end, a guy that has no interest in blocking. You are a big receiver. You haven't had that.
You had that with Gerald Everett.
But they made him block.
They made him block. Now get a guy, a non-blocking tight end that is a mismatched threat out there. Sometimes you're going to have to block, but you know what I mean. Yeah. A guy that's on the move, a movement guy.
We don't have that, or we haven't had that ability on the field yet to threaten the spine of the defense constantly, which opens everything up. So that's the first thing. Now these might be pie in the sky, and one may be linked to this draft, and I hope I'm not starting nothing with that last one. But the second one is a fullback. Never. The NFL's gone. The fullback is dead, but that would be versatile.
Hey.
That would be versatile.
You're thinking way too hard.
Sean McVay,
on a coach that's lived in 11 personnel,
may run in 21 personnel every now and then. Tell me while we were doing games last season, dang, I wish we had a fullback right now.
And right now, that's every week.
That's what I'm saying.
I have nightmares. I wake up. I always call JB. It's like 4:00 in the morning. Yeah, JB, where's the fullback?
That's what I'm saying. So maybe he brings that back. The other thing, and this could be controversial, and I don't mean it to be, but it's something that Sean McVay hasn't had in his offense. A quarterback that can actually move.
A mobile quarterback.
Mobile quarterback. Now, whether that's in the draft or what have you, in the game plan, not, or the future, what have you. That is something in the red zone that, again, we've said, imagine if you had – what is it like when we talk about defending Lamar or Jared Allen in the red zone?
How about this? The Philadelphia Eagles won with a quarterback that struggled in the playoffs throwing the football because he was able to run.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So that would be out of character. That would add versatility. There's nothing – like I said, fullback, a tight end that doesn't block, and a mobile quarterback. That's something we haven't seen in Horns since the Rams came back to L.A.
Well, at least we know we've got Stafford for another year, but maybe this is the draft we start looking for some of those pieces to fall in behind him. You guys have already started to dig into what we might be looking at in this 2025 draft, and especially at that number 26 pick. On our last episode of Between the Horns, you were asked what are some areas that the Rams may draft at that point. You mentioned corner, tight end, offensive tackle, inside linebacker, as well as QB and wide receiver. I want to break a couple of these down. Let's start with the corner because it seems like that's where a lot of people have focused. It's a little intriguing, though, because as much as we say we need a corner, I'm curious, what's the ideal corner for a Shula defensive system?
Jalen Ramsey.
Well, come on. That's
I'm
for
just-
anybody.
I'm
Come
just-
on.
You said
That's just
ideal
getting
corner.
great.
Well, we
I'm
had
just
Aaron
telling
Donald to
you.
the mix.
You can't
He's still
draft
working
him.
out. He's getting him out there.
Okay, see that helicopter? Now, this is funny. The belly of that thing holds 500 gallons of water. So he flies over it, dumps water, puts the fire out. And the last thing he said was, I said 500 gallons. He says, yes, you can never have enough water.
Right.
You can never have enough corners. What's the ideal corner? I don't know. That morphs. It depends. Whoever plays great, whoever can learn the defense, not make mistakes, go out there. I would love to say shut down your best receiver. But how about be credible enough to stay in front of the guy? Even if he catches it, make tackles.
Right.
Just don't be a guy that's a liability out at corner. I think that would be coveted in anybody's defense, especially here. Is that available in this draft? Absolutely. There's plenty of them coming out of college.
There are, but I don't know at 26 that you're going to get. If I'm going to go corner, that guy has to be able to transform our defense, if that makes sense, right? Because I'd rather then go the helicopter's moving, by the way.
That's our ride.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's your ride. I would rather then go with a defensive lineman, right, in that situation, because if I can control the line of scrimmage if a pass rusher, if I can control the line of scrimmage, I can put a guy back there to cover a little bit, right? And I'm not saying, but it just seems more beneficial at 26. If T-Mac is there from Arizona, that's a heck of a pickup. I think if there's an athletic quarterback that's there right now, there's rumors about Shador falling and Dart and all these. If one of those guys are there, you have to take a chance because you just don't know what the future is, and you're set up because of free agency and because of some other moves that you have the flexibility to take a quarterback that you can sit a year or two and then plug them in. But I always believe this. In the first round, unless if you feel like you're a position away, you take that position. If not, you always draft the big guys, right? You never can have enough big guys. So I said, tackle. And I think Havenstein's done a great job, but he's getting older. He's getting long in the tooth, right?
He's in his final year of his contract as well.
It may be time to go get you a guy that can plug in at that right tackle spot that can sit and do some work, and then next year hop in.
Last corner draft in the first round by the Rams was?
Ty Hill. And that was my class. That was a long time ago.
Yes.
That was 20 years ago.
Long time ago.
That was 20 years ago.
2006.
Yes.
Yeah. That was 20 years ago almost. Yeah.
You already mentioned offensive tackle. Let's move to inside linebacker. And you guys have mentioned, I know, you're already going that direction.
What are you whistling for?
There's a guy. The kid out of Bama. The kid out of Bama is legit because he can rush.
You trust Bama linebackers?
But this is the thing. He can run. He can cover.
Yeah.
He can rush.
I've heard that before.
And he can tackle.
I've heard that
From
before
who?
about Bama linebackers.
Which one?
Do you trust Bama linebackers? Of course we trust Bama linebackers.
Yeah,
That's like trusting the Florida State defensive end.
I was going to tell you this. Yeah. I was going to tell you this. The one that the Niners drafted a couple years ago that kind of fell out a little bit, that was scary when they got him.
And this is all due respect to the guys in horns. I thought they were fantastic.
No question.
I really did. I thought they played their butts off. You were, a couple plays away from shocking the eventual champions. So no diss, they all played well. But you can always use fresh blood. And if you can get bigger, stronger, faster up front, then so be it. Watching Bobby Wagner while he was here and watch him go about his business and how much of a leader he was, a steward, a captain, a quarterback of the defense that's actually right smack in the middle. That is old school football. So if you can build that, absolutely you would take that. If that's available, that would be worth 26 for me.
Can I ask you a question? If Bobby Wagner was on the team last year, do you think that they lose to the Eagles?
I was just about to go that direction.
Okay, I wouldn't say. I don't know if it's enough to tip the scales in the Rams' favor to win.
You stop the run,
but
better.
I do know Saquon Barkley doesn't rush for the century mark on every carry. If Bobby Wagner was out there,
and I would typically say that knee-jerk reaction, right? Like you have to face the Eagles in the run game. But in the same regard, like the NFC is run heavy regardless. So is that enough to kind of change? I know you're smiling about it, but is that enough to change some of that draft philosophy? Because traditionally they haven't gone heavy on inside linebackers.
Well, if you had any doubts about drafting the guy that high at inside linebacker, right? How could you in this division with what's going on in San Francisco?
Yeah.
That's a linebacker-driven football team with some talent around it. So you should appreciate what's been winning in this division. So yeah, absolutely. I would love to. I guess invest in some top flight talent at that spot. It's been a while.
So.
Yeah,
well, that's what I was saying. I think it's been a while. I think, Ernest Jones did an awesome job there. It was a 3rd round pick. It's another guy we didn't speak about that the Rams hit on, but
that hurt. Yeah.
But having a guy like that, And like you said, I think the linebackers did an awesome job. But when you're looking to improve your roster everywhere, that position can be improved.
Can I ask you a real question? When you were back there in the dot as a tailback, fullback, what have you, and you look back there at the linebackers, and aren't you just kind of determining what sort of day you're going to have based on what's looking back at you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, okay, for example, I'll just give you a great example. There was
Don't throw anybody under the bus.
No. This guy, I had battles with this guy.
Okay.
Paul Postlesny was like the kryptonite because in the running game I couldn't beat him, but in the passing game I could. So I'm like, hey, quit running between the tackles. Get me over here at wide receiver. Let me go to work. And when I played Ray Lewis, it was very similar. In between the tackles, he was dominant. But if you got me out in space, those things work. So, but then they were like, I went against Patrick Willis.
Oh, hey.
Nothing worked against Patrick Willis that day. And it was terrible. I was back at home too, so nothing worked that day. But again, when you're right, when you look across from that other side, you're like, okay, how can I take advantage of this guy? And if you have a guy that can do a little bit of everything, it's tough for the other side.
And you smell fear. Oh, yeah. This is about to be a great day for me. Yeah.
We got just a couple minutes left, and I want to circle back to the tight end conversation because I'm with you. I think one of the biggest areas is we need to find yet another weapon for Stafford, and especially a red zone threat. I think about not having Tyler for a portion of the season last year and how impactful that was, especially in the beginning stages. So is there a name in this draft, a tight end you're excited about? I remember last year it was Brock Bowers.
Oh, yeah. That was my baby.
You got a name?
That was your baby?
That was my baby. And you know what? It's always great when you see young, talented guys go to the league and play well. To me, I think if you're the Rams, if you're going to go get one of these guys, it has to be the top two guys, right?
Okay.
Because, again, if I'm going to go and get a guy in the first round, I want to get the upper echelon of it. I want to get the creme de la creme, the bread pudding. You know,
you may miss a George Kittle, though.
You may miss a George Kittle late, but you still can get a George Kittle late if you want to. I'm just saying that in this draft, I'm looking at the two top guys as being athletes, guys that are tough to tackle. I mean, even and let's put it this way: Kobe Parkinson came on late as Tyler Higbee got there to be that second guy, and that's what the Rams were looking for. But you can get a Warren or the kid out of Michigan who can be that athletic guy that can go make plays. Or, I mean, you can get a guy in the third or fourth round as well. But if I'm going to draft at 26, I need to go up and go get my guy.
Okay, this is the last one.
Yeah, and it's trust because, here, I'll say this. I'm out on tight ends judging them.
Right.
Because I would have bet my house that between Parkinson, Hunter Long, and Higbee.
Oh, Higbee, okay.
That was your answer at tight end. And it took a while to get going. And then Higbee became the guy again. So, yeah, I don't know what makes that guy special. You know what I mean? So good luck finding one. Right.
Okay, last and final. Pick or trade at number 26, considering the next one is 90.
I'm trading.
You're going to trade that?
I got to try and get some more picks, man. I'm a glutton for picks.
How many more?
Right?
2 more?
2. Try to get 2 or 3 if I can. I may trade back and then trade back again.
You know, depending on how this draft goes and the darling of it, the star of this draft is, you already mentioned his name, Shedeur Sanders. So depending on where he goes and where he sits, some teams could get real crazy. Some teams don't want him. Some teams might want him a lot. So if he's there, you may have a chance to flip that pick, and you wouldn't be wrong there.
And you may take him at that pick as well.
Or you may take him at that pick.
So that's the other part. I'll say this at the end. No matter what the Rams do, I feel like they're in a great position for success.
Yeah.
A lot of teams aren't like that. So you have a lot of options where you're not pressing. You know, if you're pressing for a guy, you start to reach. And when you reach and you get a guy, maybe that should have been a second rounder or a third rounder, you dropped in the first, that puts pressure on that player to be something that he's not.
Vermeil said that, and I stand by it. You can't draft gotta-haves.
Right.
Gotta-haves will break your heart. Yeah.
All right. Well, if that sound wasn't a good enough indicator, guys, I think it's time we suit up and get ready for draft night number 1. This has been the Rams pre-draft show presented by Zillow. Again, we want to say a huge thank you to the LAFD Air Operations here in Van Nuys for sharing this amazing space with us. We will be coming to you every single day from this space. And guys, you're going to break down all the big time picks for the Los Angeles Rams. For DeMarco Farr and Maurice Jones-Drew, I'm Camryn Irwin. And we'll see you back here tomorrow.
DeMarco, you going to get that little one? Right there?